Nice. How's everybody? Mr. Burnip. Um, I think just in short, it's been a good camp. I've been pleased in a lot of areas. I think we know where our strengths are, and I think we know most of the weaknesses, which we still have some, obviously. But from a competitive standpoint, I think we've gotten all we could out of camp. Very pleased with just the efficiency and the operation of the staff and practices, and great job by everybody involved in year two. Better understanding of how things needed to look, how they needed to flow, what the expectations were. So we were able to focus more on the task at hand and developing these guys and making sure our schemes are sound and improving on technique. So it's been a good off season, and obviously everybody's very excited about the opportunity to open up at home. Lane Stadium, Worsham Field, with our fan base, I couldn't ask for anything better for our guys, for our staff, and for our fans. So super excited for Saturday night. One of the best environments all of college football. So I know we'll get a good Old Dominion team coming in here. As I've said many times, I got a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Ronnie. Good coach, good staff. They'll have a good plan. I'm sure they worked all off season like we did and developed guys. And so I expect a good football team to come in here Saturday night. Questions, please.
Just a reminder, raise your hand. We'll get your wireless mic. We'll start on the front row with Andy.
I think ODU has 58 new players on its roster, something like that. New offensive coordinator. Can you take much from last year's game? Is it difficult to scout a group where there's been so much turnover on the roster?
Yeah, it is. It is more difficult, more challenging. We've looked at film from Fordham. We've looked at Old Dominion from last year from a personnel standpoint, and what could they retain from that system and that scheme that would fit what their new play caller wants to do. We've looked at similar offenses as to what they were doing at Fordham. But, it is challenging. I think about, just with us and all the new faces in our program that's in our two deep. If you wanted to go back and look at film on Jalen Lane, you got to go to Middle Tennessee. On Bayshaw, you're going to A&T. On Quan, you're going to Norfolk State. I mean, it's kind of the day and age we're living in a little bit. And but particularly in week one, I've been in this situation before where you got a new play caller, and it is challenging. You just got to dig a little deeper and do your homework, and most importantly, be good at what you do, and then make great in-game adjustments.
Looking at some of Ricky Ronnie's comments yesterday, he almost sort of seemed to lament the fact that this is a yearly matchup and that he can't talk to you about football the way he talks to other coaches. It's more personal stuff. But are you of the same mindset? Is this a difficult matchup because you play them so often and you can't kind of talk ball with him the way you might otherwise?
Yeah, I realize, and I've learned that this matchup, our fan base enjoys it. So that is important to me. They enjoy playing these guys, I think, and there's a lot of relationships across the Commonwealth that go back and forth between their area and ours, their university and ours. But at the same time, Rick's a good friend, and having him in the state, us doing this together as first-time head coaches, I wish we were able to talk more ball and kind of go at this hand in hand. But playing them every year, it just makes it more challenging.
When Ricky announced that Grant Wilson was going to be their starting quarterback, a lot of people just looked at his numbers at Fordham, 13 attempts, but he's entering his fourth year in that offensive system. Do you expect him to have full reign of what they're going to do on offense?
Yeah, I have no idea what his capabilities. He may, be one of those guys that even though he was in a backup role, has a great grasp. They may keep it limited because this is his first, extensive in-game experience. But obviously, if Ricky's chosen him to be his starter, he's got a lot of confidence and faith in him.
You announced the captains last week. Nick Gallo was one of them. You told us last week the medical staff was looking into the extent of his injury. How is he doing, and do you expect to have him on Saturday?
Yeah, he's questionable for the ball game right now, but not questionable from a captain standpoint. He's one of the best leaders on our football team.
Back in the room to David. We'll come back to David Cunningham.
Coach, you warned us at the beginning of camp that we'd see some freshmen get playing time on that defense. What did Jonathan Penix do during camp that impressed you?
Just what he did on his high school film. This guy's just got great instincts. Whether he's on defense, at quarterback, at receiver, running the ball. You know, he played wide out the first part of camp, and we moved him over to corner, and he's made plays just about every practice. He's a hustler. The game comes easy to him. He's raw, technically, as a corner, but he's a playmaker. I'm very excited about him. You know, he's positioned himself to potentially play in this ball game. You know, to get some valuable snaps. We've got 5 true freshmen in the 2 deep in the perimeter right now, and he's one of them.
Front row, David Cunningham, and then Anthony in the back.
See, Keyshawn Burgos is listed as a starter. What have you liked about how he separated himself from Cole Nelson and the other guys in that room? And he's a young guy, but what have I know you praised him at the beginning of camp. What is those steps that he's taken have you seen from him to kind of get to that point where you can rely on him every single play?
He's always had a fantastic motor and played very hard, which we value. You know, we put a lot of value on that. But he had to learn the position. He had to learn how to operate within the structure of the defense to where we could trust him that way, and he's done that. He's not perfect. You know, he's still making a few mistakes here and there, but we're much more comfortable with the aspect of him executing, functioning in the defense. I think he and APR, they make more plays than the other guys right now. You know, they're just more productive. And that's not a knock on the other guys. I think Cole Nelson is playing his best ball. You talk about a guy that does understand the defense and will always function well in it. Just needs to make a few more plays, and he's capable. I think on the other side was C.J. McCray, a guy that's worked really hard and changed his body and, you know, just not making enough plays to crack the lineup. APR and Keyshawn give us the best chance at the minus yardage plays and the sacks that we felt like we were missing.
Brent, you've talked a lot about the program's core values, but I don't know if motto is the right word, but is there a motto or a message that you're using with this team this season?
Yeah, you know, we're talking a lot about incredible focus, you know, being in the moment and making sure that we're not worried about the last play. We're not thinking about the next play. We're not thinking about the scoreboard. We're not thinking about the record. We've got to put our intent on those next 6 seconds and be there. And then second piece is just, undeniable effort. It can make up for a lot of things. When you play harder than the guy across from you, when your unit plays harder than their unit, when your team plays harder than their team, it goes a long way. And I think your effort, everybody in our program is going to identify that as how much you care about this team and how much you want to win, the type of effort you play with. So those 2 words, above and beyond our fundamentals, are, you know, something we have been talking a lot and will continue to talk a lot about.
When we last talked to Tyler Bowen, he said you guys were very concentrated on repping running plays and really getting those down. And I think the ODU game last year, minus that bad snap, it was probably the best you'd run the ball from a traditional standpoint all year. How bullish are you on this running game this season, turning a corner with the running backs you have and the O-line you have in place?
Yeah, let me tell you, we've invested a lot of time, a lot of snaps, a lot of conversation in running the football. And so we're committed to it. It needs to go our way. It needs to work for us. And that doesn't mean that the initial plan, and there's going to be adjustments, there's going to be tweaks, there's going to be things directions we grow with our run game, but we're certainly committed to it.
was the struggles last year, you think, more due attention or repping? Why do you think that didn't materialize last year?
Yeah, I think even in the running back room, Jalen wasn't Holston wasn't healthy to start the year. Malachi wasn't healthy to start the year. I think we were still trying to come to terms with an identity up front. So I think we're in a better place in both those areas. We got a healthy running back room, got an improved skill set in the running back room. I think we're much further along playing together as a front five with our offensive line. So, and I think we spent more time. We invested in it more. Generally, when you invest in something more, the return's better, and that's the direction we're trying to go.
On the topic of health, just want to check in. How's Bayshaw doing? I know he was a little bit banged up during camp.
Yeah, he's 100%.
Okay. What have you seen from him at kick returner that makes you feel like he's a good weapon back there?
Yeah, he's fast. He's explosive. Good vision. He can hit that crease, and he's got the speed to take it the distance. I think we got a good tandem back there as well. I think Malachi will return kicks. I think Lofton's got a knack at it, but Bayshaw, he's pretty special running the football.
You mentioned that the kick battle might go into this week. John Love is listed as the starter. What did you like about that battle, and how confident do you feel in John Love?
Yeah, I think, going into camp, we felt like John would be the guy, but Kyle made it very interesting and really worked at it. We felt like Kyle would give us our best chance in long field goal situations, but he kind of came on and started pushing John, and we got into a good competition there. But John has won the place kicking battle outright. He's the place kicker. Kyle's the kickoff specialist, and he needs to be great at that. And I do think that Kyle, he's worked at it. He'll be available for long field goals, and maybe I should say extra long field goals, because we're pretty confident that we want to go with John pretty far out. But Kyle's ready.
Back of the room to Brooke, and then we'll go to Zoom.
It's already on. Do you have a difference in emotions heading into this game compared to last year, whether it's confidence or not really feeling like you need to prove yourself in your first game, or anything that you may be feeling this week compared to last year?
I think you're always trying to prove yourself. I don't know that ever goes away. For me, I just want to see results. I want to see all the work and all the sacrifice and investment that this staff and these players have made this offseason come to fruition. And let's go play well. Let's go play to our potential. Whatever that is, let's play to our potential. Let's play smart. I think we're a more mature football team that way. Maybe not from age, but when you look back, as I mentioned, we've got 5 true freshmen in the secondary in the perimeter playing. We've got 5 redshirt freshmen in the 2 deep on the O-line, 3 second-year players at tight end, and 3 second-year players at receiver, all in the 2 deep. So we're young, but a lot of those guys have come from winning programs that understand the work ethic, the investment, the sacrifice. They've won a bunch in their high school careers. There's more maturity that way. In-game adversity. There's a level of confidence. But, so I just want to see us go out and play well and execute, play together, overcome adversity, be able to finish quarters and finish drives and finish reps, finish games. So, I'm excited to see the product that we put out there.
Let's go out to Zoom for a few.
On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature to ask questions. Please limit yourself to 1 question. And we'll start with Paul, please.
Brent, now that Grant has officially been named the starter and has had a little bit of time in that role again this season, have you seen him take more control of the offense, more of a leadership position, whether it be on the field, in the huddle, or on the sidelines?
Yes, I have. He stepped up that way in meeting rooms, in walkthroughs, and in practice. So I fully expect him to do that in Lane Stadium.
We go to Fago, please. What makes Ali Jenkins such a special player, and can you talk to me about the improvement that you see from him?
I'm sorry, who were you referencing?
Ali Jenkins.
We don't have an Ali Jenkins. You mean Ali Jennings?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Ali's a good player, confident, mature, a lot of experience, good story. From West Virginia to Old Dominion, Richmond guy. I'm excited about how he can impact our wide receiver room. I'm excited about how he's impacting our football program in general.
We go to Mike Barber, please.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned studying some Fordham stuff to get a handle on Coach Decker and Wilson, the quarterback, coming from there. What is kind of your take on what Decker does and what this quarterback might be able to do?
Well, they spread the field. They do a great job making it hard on you from an alignment standpoint. You know, they want to see the picture, and when people spread you out, it's a little easier to see. I think they use good tempo. Even when they're not snapping it fast, they're lining up fast. And then they use the run-pass option very well.
Thank you.
We go to Hank, please. Hank, you're still muted.
Sorry about that. I've only been on Zoom 1,000 times. I know games aren't played on paper, but on paper, people expect a Power Five to beat a group of five, especially at home. Your guys' history with these guys has not been as good as Hokies fans would like it. How important is it to kind of get off to a good start and have a good result in this game, just kind of for the psyche of the team?
I think that's important every year. You know, I really do. I mean, you come out, you play well, you do the things you expect to do, and it's a little bit easier to build on that. I think when you come out and you stumble and don't play to your potential, you know, you kind of go back to the drawing board and remotivate and kind of get back to basics. But, you know, this is a good football team, and I think, you know, you see it all too often. The group of five schools are competing, you know, in a lot of areas against the Power Five schools. And, you know, I know, as I mentioned, what a great job Ricky Ronnie does, and that team will come in here prepared, ready, and, you know, with a good game plan and give us a good ball game. So, you know, I think, you know, for us, again, about us and what we need to do is, you know, the areas that we knew we needed to improve in from last year. Big picture items with adversity in game, more specific items with scheme and technique and personnel. I think we've addressed a lot of things, and now we have to go out and kind of, you know, put it into action and go be the football team that we can be.
Thanks, Coach.
We have time for two more on Zoom. We'll start with Evan.
Yeah, Coach, with the focus on running the ball and a deeper running back room this year, at least on paper, how was the competition between Tootin and Thomas? And is it more of an or situation with those? Is Tootin really the guy? And then what about Chance Black and guys like that are still around? You know, how do they seem to fit in this fall?
I think it's a 1-2 punch, with Bayshaw being one and Malachi being two. It would be hard for me to talk about one without the other. And then I think we've got three good backs behind them, to be honest. I think Chance and Bryce. I think we've got a young guy in Jeremiah Coney. He won't be available in this ball game, but you know, it's been a good preseason camp in that room. I think Coach Brooks has done a nice job, and I think Bayshaw elevated the room, but I think Malachi being healthy has kind of put a stamp on it. I'm excited to watch both those guys.
Last question on Zoom. We'll go to David Teal, please.
Brent, you mentioned the tempo with which Fordham played last season. Despite your youth defensively that you mentioned in the back end and on the perimeter, do you think your defense is ready to play at that kind of tempo?
Yeah, I sure hope so. We've worked on it. You know, we've asked for it from our offense and had periods against those guys with tempo. We've done it with our scout units. Sometimes it's hard to prepare for tempo, to get it close to what they're going to actually get in game from somebody that lives in it and does it all the time. But we've certainly worked at it and doing everything we can to prepare the guys for it.
Thank you.
Back to you, Travis.
All right. Any more questions in the room for Coach? Last one to Damien.
Brent, I wanted to follow up on the tight end situation you mentioned last week with the three, whether sophomore, redshirt, freshman. You want to see them get some good practices in. How do you feel they did through the rest of the week, and how are they looking going in this week?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think both Benji and Daquan were coming off, even Harry to a degree, were coming off some minor injuries that had them limited, and all three of them were full go through the week and had good weeks of practice.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.